Hello, welcome. My name is Deana, and this is the Daily Dharma, and we have yet another recording device, and we're going to try this out. So today we have a different view. It's the way it works. So we'll show you what comes out. This is a collective read, so take what resonates, leave the rest. Let me know where you're at along this timeline. We're working our way out of the third dimension, preoccupation, and into transcendence from these earthly matters, because as much as they are matter, they don't matter in the long run. Sacral chakra, number 2. I'll let you guys take to reading that, if you will. That's the second chakra, located deep in the pit of the stomach. It rules sensuality and self-worth and the desire nature, reaching forth for something. Root chakra, the first chakra, rooting with our, that really talks about our beginnings, our childhood, our foundation. Romantic love. So let's get some more cards out here. Romantic love, I mean, we can find romance in all things, but there's also a card for universal love in here. So it's something that we're becoming engaged with, delighted by. It's that quick, fast, giggly, uplifted, light-hearted, childlike energy is what comes through, that simple bliss of the initial tinglings of something amazing coming into your life, followed by consciousness, number 17. Corresponds with the major arcana star card, talking about hope and Aquarian energies under the deck. Very nice. Divine masculine. And of course, there is a big difference between talking about our toxic masculine and our divine masculines out there, and most are somewhere along that spectrum trying to figure it all out for themselves. Under that is the healing card. Got a lot of light in here today. We'll find that perfect angle. So the divine masculine is healing his ideas and his sense of worthiness and attractability, and his belief even in the structures and foundations of love. Perhaps many individuals have come from, you can call it a broken home, or just terrible toxic role models, whether that's in the home or in the educational system or in different religious upbringings, which bring in a lot of dogma and social policing and would, should, could, you're not good enough, but you could be better. So this sense of the gap between what we aspire to be and what we would present ourselves as and what we see when we look into the mirror. 333. Gentlemen, take that to heart. Joyful music under the deck here as we start inspiration. That cat is so happy, wearing some moth spectacles, painting. It's got a paintbrush. It's delighted, and it's got that, I don't know if it's a violin or cello or whatever, but that cat is in its zone. It is creating space for itself to be a creator, to allow the music of its soul's resonance to find a medium to express within. And even if you don't think that you're an artist, you can move around furniture in a room and create a different feng shui, and the different flow of the room changes the entire energy, and it becomes a work of art, a work of intentionality. And you can do that with anything. Gardening, of course, it becomes something. You plant a seed, and as you engage in those things, if you're considering it, you're aligning your energies with that seed. And as you nurture and develop a seed, 444, then you're nurturing and developing your own self on multi-levels, the psyche, the mind, body, spirit, and the field, and all things that follow. Okay, crown games, right use of power. Look at that super intriguing imagery. There's no head, there's no feet, but there's this head with an enormous crown which comes around under the chin with this chain link type, I don't know what you call it on the crown, where it holds it into place on the face. It's like when society and your upbringing has you like this, glued to a TV or glued to a certain way of being, and then everybody can sit back and be like, oh, well, I have a delightful family. Look at all our pretty portraits that we've put out on our Christmas cards. This type of mentality is something that many people that are on this path of ascension, evolution, soul discovery, a journey, we've come from places where the expectations mess with your own authenticity, your own expression, and you become either jaded, smart, strategic, or sensitive, or secretive, or resilient, or a million different things. There are so many caveats and different dimensionalities of the expression of the human dimension. And so this crown games, right use of power, comes from what we've experienced and who we then align with. What energy do we align with? Are we aligning with the manipulators and the game players? Are we talking about that lower world energy, or are we really taking those intuitions about other individuals and saying, instead of like, okay, this person is strategic, they may be a liar, say that you just recognize this for what it is and don't make a story of it, and then you move along and let the individual develop their script and talk it through. And if you maintain the sense of your higher mindedness and your it's the eye of the needle we spoke about yesterday, passing through that point of integrity where instead of seeing things that offer us invitations to manipulate or to gain a leg up on a situation or to compete with, or to, in the banter, to take the microphone more often, it's like recognizing the self in the moment and self-correcting and inviting others to become themselves more authentically through your expression of delight and easiness, transparency, and the right use of your energy, potential, and power. Integrity is something that if you're going to fake it, it's usually only for a minute or very superficially. Anybody that's close enough to an individual and in alignment with their source is going to notice when something is off. We have this followed by the horned cactus, resourcefulness. So firm boundaries is what I'm hearing, and so that face in there, and we just had this Taurian new moon solar eclipse, and then we're going to have the following lunar eclipse. We'll talk more about that in particular, but I'm seeing that Taurian energy of the bull here. It's bull-headed fixation, fixed energy, perhaps from our environment, has helped us to understand when we need to be super grounded, when we need to be super practical, how we need to be protective and guarded against people that do show themselves right off the bat, and how we sometimes chase away our blessings by being prickly in situations where it doesn't serve us, such as, here's a great example, telemarketers, or you're calling with some type of a grievance on the phone. The more prickly your energy is, the more responsive they become, and then you're going to not get as good of treatment. I mean, squeaky wheel gets the energy, but the energy will be negative reflection. You send out energy, it's reflected back in the mirror. And when we realize that we're shadow boxing with our own reflection in the mirror, perhaps we can allow ourselves to relax in that state. Yeah, so there's more on that one that will possibly come out. Garden of Venus, rest and renewal is under the deck when we're talking about that. Remaining secure and aware of the oasis that is awaiting you all around you if you only attune yourself for instance, in nature, even when it's raining, there's so much beauty and potential. The trees are budding in my area finally. It's only May. We are having a late season right now. But as that comes to fruition, it's easy to get distracted and to think, oh, it's raining, it's not sunny, I'm tired of the dreariness. But rain renews the earth. It invigorates the plants. It allows us to be hydrated. It hydrates the very air that we breathe. If the air was, well, like in Arizona or someplace else, a desert climate where there would be many cacti around, that's the environment that sometimes we find ourselves in, maybe at a workplace or something else, where there's, or even in a circumstance in life when we've found ourselves in a cycle of actually perpetuating the old stories or justifying our sense of having not gotten to where we think that we should have been by now in conversation. Speaking ourselves down instead of speaking ourselves up. There's plenty of other individuals that are in that time, space, and reality, and if we find ourselves amongst those cacti, then we have to remember that the deeper that our roots go, the better it is for our longevity, because we have, especially in an arid climate like the desert, we have to dig our roots very deep to create self-sovereign, sustaining life, because the rain is unpredictable in those environments. Does that make sense? I think you guys get what I'm smelling, what I'm stepping in. Watchers, transpersonal. Interesting. I'm seeing so many of these cards for the first time. I am perceiving a meditative figure on the top of a statue that's been crumbling, made by ancient ancestors or some type of an indigenous energy. Perhaps we're talking about ley lines and charging ley lines, going to sacred places along those geometric hot energy spots. I was kind of feeling this with I watched Esther Hicks channeling Abraham Hicks, this older video. I'd love to share it on YouTube, but for whatever reason I can't right now. But it's a really great one. I'll put the link in the description box because it's so profound. But their information is always so simple, and they were talking about how Esther's grandchildren play the hot-cold game. They hide something, and they're calling your energy towards it by saying, warmer, warmer, oh, you're burning up, oh, you're getting cold again. And those are just the redirections that Spirit uses, these transpersonal guidelines. And so when we talk about ley lines, those are highly charged areas. And if we're talking about being in situations where people have been prickly and unforthcoming, wearing masks, being either difficult, combative, or uncompromising, unyielding with us, playing crown games, trying to jockey for the position of mind control over us, whether you see that as a group think, a community, a social institution, or your family environment, whatever it might be for you. It's recognizing that your mind is a gift, it is a treasure, and that your sacred energy is ebbing and flowing all throughout your energy field. I'm feeling these golden light codes again from the sun, the solar energy coming down, absorbing into the system, keeping those inner fires lit, that Vesta, asteroid Vesta, the inner temple, remaining pure and true. No matter who's watching, no matter what we've witnessed, to understand what's truth and what's not. And I'm seeing, okay, I'm going to show you this one more time. So I'm seeing this underneath figure as perhaps an Egyptian monolith or something. Is that the right word? And then the figure on top is almost blooming out, shedding this exoskeleton of stone, and the light body is emerging, wings first, where there's this soul star lighting up on and lifting it and guiding it upward. It's like the burning the dew off the grass in the morning when the sun rise occurs. It's like that epiphany moment that says, good morning, grand rising even, because good morning, talking about spelling morning, is like grievance, right? So good morning, are we Groundhog's Day, like, oh, another opportunity to go and make these same old donuts and serve those same old unforgiving and uninspired customers, right? Maybe you're the one on the phone of the telemarketing company being badgered and belittled, and perhaps there's something that you can change that energy by using your empathy skills instead of your judgmental discernment. It doesn't matter if they're right. If you can make them happy with you, then they will be easy and gentle, hopefully, right? And it's a delicate dance. Everything is a dance. It's that garden of Venus, rest and renewal, that I'm feeling. It's like as you shed that stony facade, the mask of acceptance rather than authenticity and fiery, passionate, like, this is what I care about, this is how I want to say it, this is what I really wanted to say. It's moving from one into the other. And people are watching this transformation in your energy. So I'm seeing this aligning here too. Sacral chakra lining up with crown games. Seeing all those orange energies there. It's a rising up of your value, your self-worth, seeing the treasure that you truly are. And that cactus in the roots going deep, digging in your heels, being stubborn about some things, firm boundaries, firm sense of self. Don't become what your haters are trying to tell you that you are. Become who you ultimately are by virtue of your own intentionality and firm belief in your highest best. Just re-intone to yourself. I am highly protected and favored. I am always working and honoring the highest possible good in my life to the best of my abilities. Anyone who thinks I could be doing differently can stay in their own lane. Return any judgments or energy projections to sender and let them experience their own lessons, and I will choose my own in a delicate and gentle fashion for my best and highest awakening of all. Romantic love. It's like treating yourself like the lover. Being your own lover is not talking about physically or sexually here. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's talking about doing for yourself, not, oh, well, if I'm nice or flirtatious with this person, they'll be nice and flirtatious back. It's loving yourself first and taking yourself lightheartedly and knowing what you deserve and magnetizing it. So we've got divine masculine here, which talks about going out and getting it. I'm seeing like just knowing who and what you are and setting those firm boundaries already helps you to take up enough space. So we talk about clearing the clutter, clearing the residue so that we can create space for something to come in and to be magnetized. Well, I also like to say, don't magnetize too much as well, because certain people are already depleted and need to be replenished. And the more that they expand the lungs, take in the breath, take in the energy and the elementals, these things will help to expand the field around the selves in a protective flow around the self. Where was I going with that? Did I make the point of doing for yourself, not waiting for someone else to love you, but loving yourself enough? And it sounds cheesy and cliche, but it is what it is. You can't get around it. You can't love another person enough for them to love you if there's nobody home. All right then. So we have two cards coming out, and one came out in the pre-shuffle, this Woodwives adaptability. And the message I got, I'm not sure will be what they're intending, but it is what it is. And Root Girl. Oh, and I'm noticing we have one is 46 and the other 64. So we have a reflection, an anagram, if you will. 6446. So 1010. I saw a lot of that earlier this year. Now I'm into the sevens. Do you have number synchronicities speaking to you? It's important that you may look into or hear what others say about those numbers, but take your own guidance to heart. I mean, with the exception of, don't be afraid of numbers. Like the number 666 gets a negative rap, but it's the essence of balance, creative balance. So 6 and 4. 4 is the number of the divine masculine. Here it's 22, which we normally wouldn't reduce, but 22 is a 4 sort of. And so Woodwives, I was getting this pioneer woman mentality where somebody's already in the grain, in the habit pattern of doing for self, walking with their magic daily, inspiring and uplifting and walking, literally being their magic, but they are the tree, the roots that run deep, right? And we see these fall leaves here. So maybe we're talking about some type of feminine energy that I hate to use the word died off because it's so triggering to so many people, but again, it is what it is. If a chapter ended in one's life, if there was someone who died, we've already spoke of the word grief once today, someone who passed away in the fall, and I did have someone in my own life that passed away, and her wake is coming up this weekend, interestingly enough. It's reminding me of the illumination of the individual when they cross. Oh, I see, I missed 2222. So, in the moment, though, it was reminding me of this pioneer woman, the social construct of who I should be in order to have and maintain the other things that I want in life, whether that's partnership or successful career or friends and family that respect and adore and spend time with us, or whether it's just a firm connection to the ancestors, to the elementals, to the earth, and to the property that we live on, and to the sacred flow of your moon cycle for some. It's somebody who's reconnecting with their roots, but having some type of consciousness expansion where they're outgrowing the concepts of their past, the concepts that have been slowly dissipating and leaving our psyches, are ready for full evacuation and eviction. And in its place, it doesn't necessarily not exist. We can't erase the past, but we can resolve and correct our vibrational output from that point. So the illumination that happens after one passes, in my experience, happens with this casting off of so many of the little ego fears and concerns. And if I had ever known how beautiful life and how beautiful every individual is, and how hard everyone's trying, no matter how ugly and terrible it looks, when we speak to the highest within that individual, when we can perceive the highest from that individual, we are speaking through the eyes and the senses of Source illuminated. And so the whole idea is like, don't grieve for me now, I'm in a better place. And when somebody leaves your space, don't grieve for the situation, don't grieve for the other individual, don't grieve for yourself and some illusion that the past had more for you than the future has for you, because, baby, your future is bright. It is lit up. So I want to talk about this next card here. root girl. We already had root and sacral chakras talking about the sense of self, the sense of what we're rooted to, the biochemistry of the mother that literally created us, and the father that contributed on whether just a tiny amount for some, or perhaps raised you while your mother was not a part of it. Or maybe you had a two-party power couple. Maybe you had that great environment. But there's something here with root girl, the disowned self. There's this bramble of fall leaves in the crown, telling me that somebody doesn't feel worthy of perhaps making this firm transition. Maybe they made a mistake, maybe there were regrets, maybe it was an accident, maybe they left without having said what they really meant to do when they came here. And rather than recycling and forgiving, holding it in their energy. And take this as you will. This is perhaps the disowned self of yourself on the other side of the veil that you're perceiving and projecting into other individuals. That person that answers the phone and you're grumpy because of some type of grievance, and you're like, why don't people treat me better? Well, you are the voice in the mirror. You are the smoke in the mirror. You are your own limiter, and it's all divine. There's a limiter in an engine, and it works so that, for instance, when you hit that throttle, you don't go 0 to 100, or so that somebody who isn't used to the car doesn't take it 500 miles per hour when that's clearly unsafe for anybody, including the person in there, right? So they put these limiters so that you can only go so fast based upon what the manufacturer dictates how fast you should go, right? You're going to sit within these parameters. You're going to go this way. I want you to do this thing. I expect. And Root Girl takes this all in and keeps making others' journeys and expectations more important and more of a priority than her own, and ultimately ends up wondering why no one is investing. And it is because the house is empty. No one visits an empty home except a robber. Why would the robber hit the empty home? I said that completely incorrectly. Sometimes when you're channeling, your logic isn't always the first thing there, but I say it for whatever reason I need to, right? Squatters perhaps visit the empty home. Druggies that are looking for some place that's abandoned as they feel themselves are going into there because all other avenues have turned them away. Eviction notices, being unable to clean themselves up. No rehab can clean someone up until they're ready. And if you're addicted to something, no matter how safe you find it, no matter how many people don't perceive it, you are the watcher of your experience. You are all that there is. You are the other. What you believe about others is about yourself. And this disowned self is critical. It's a critical self-love moment where someone needs to reach for that divine healing. You have enough. You don't need to work. You don't need to get the approval of some type of masculine who's unhealed, who's toxic or demanding, expectation holding captor that has us by the short hairs and wants us to do or to be or to rule us through their victimization or iniquity or to, your personal story. Under the deck, interesting, dust devil moving out of stagnation. So this is a cloud, this is a veil, and there's an image inside looking meditative and confused. There's a lot of residue and it needs a lot of cleansing. And to stop rebuilding the old stories of the past every time you do cleanse and clear. It looks like a desert that used to be an ocean to me, for whatever reason. And this storm perhaps is one of those little whirlwinds, a vortex that comes along through that desert. And if you get swept up in that, I see the leaves here or whatever they are, the debris getting swept up. And there's only one color, one chakra color evident there, just the yellow of the solar plexus. And quite often, people more aligned with their assertive, demanding, controlling, power complexes, prove myself, I need, the people that don't believe themselves to be enough are generally ruled by their solar plexus. Like, look at what I've accomplished, look at how hard I can push, tell me I'm enough, tell me I inspire you, something like this, right? So it's recognizing those other individuals in the world, and is there any way that by virtue of being so grounded, so authentic, so clear, so stable, in that we create the fulcrum, the tipping point in the center of an environment that others begin to gravitate towards in such a way that their vortex that is mired in acting, in action taking, in doing, in stirring up, in being busy, busy, busy all the time, despite the need to sit down and replenish and hydrate and deep dive into the ocean of their emotions and consciousness, needing to just get to that place of recognizing that some others are ruled by that, and by virtue of us staying steady, that we create the eye of the storm, and then people will be circling us, but it doesn't need to be wolves at our door. If we're steady and true, they can only get so close to us, and if that doesn't penetrate to the core of your sensitivity and create doubt and misgivings or guilt, false guilt and shame, thinking that you should have, would have, could have been any type of a way different than you were, you are the perfect consciousness trying its best, and so are all others. So forgive yourself without delay. Forgive anyone who left you before you were ready to release. Forgive yourself for not being enough, for not being able to heal or to hold. Attachment is not where it's out. Move out of that stagnant energy and put that crown on the top of your head. That's this crown games. That's where that solar plexus energy, it's in the gut. It's like, look at who I am, look at what I've achieved, and holding it so close, that Four of Pentacles energy, clinging to validation cycles. So 2 things. I love being able to speak a full message. I will tell you that much. Being cut off at 10, 11 minutes has been so divine. Thank you, universe, for helping me to reach the epiphanies and conclusions that I needed to reach, to allow me to cleanse my energy before coming online for you guys. 33, as I say that. Dharma of Kali on the split with Baglamukti. You can try to pronounce that one. I've only barely studied Kali, but her energy is very appealing to this moment. And there's that warrior queen on the bottom with her crown of enlightenment no longer in her guts. She's got that, instead of armor, she's got a few jewels, very simple jewels, and she's very peaceful looking. She has a lotus of enlightenment, a scepter or rattle, bracelets, and she's cut out the tongue of some kind of a demon, or maybe I like dragon energy, but I'm hearing dragon as well, because dragons are not always in their high energy. Could be somebody born under the sign of dragon. Let's see what we have here. She's rendered someone speechless, perhaps, or she has completely annihilated any gossip or any lower vibrational energies that have said or tried to speak any ill of her. Her, she, him. We have the masculine under the deck, so whether you're masculine or feminine, this is all of us aligning with the energy of our masculine polarity, the duality that says we have to go, do, be, impress, and dress for success, rise and grind. I prefer align and shine. There we finally have our Pakan cards. Kalidhara. Look at that moon, sliver moon, creating the horns of the bull once again. So we may be talking to some major Taurus energy here. Beyond the eclipse, this ecliptic plane is active all year too, by the way. And now we're seeing blue gems as opposed to the golden topazy gems. And that speaks to me about expressing the heart energy through the throat and through the third eye. Her eyes match that diamond or that sapphire, blue sapphire energy as well. Very clear, penetrating, like she can see through the dimensions. And she understands her contract, her duty, and what is not her duty. And she does what she does by choice and by grace and by God, I want to say. And God, you can even take that as good orderly direction, universe, higher self, whatever. So next we have a four-armed goddess image, Shadashi, 26. Interesting. Something's caught her attention. She still has her lotus, but she's sprouted more arms. She's been doing more than she thought possible, perhaps because of the assistance of source, community, others. But something's caught her attention. She's, I don't want to say distracted, but there's something new on the horizon that's caught her attention, and it's diverting and exciting and interesting. I mean, we do have divine masculine and romantic love on the deck, and getting ourselves to a point where we're reclaiming all of that value, wearing our crown, lowering our defenses, and watching ourselves blossom and transform before our very eyes. Oh my, look at that imagery. You have all the tools you need. There's a bloody tongue on this, is this a little small altar or like an offering altar? I don't practice a whole lot of altar work. I do vision boarding once in a while. I go through phases where I'll pay attention to these things, but since I've moved, everything is everywhere, and right now I am practicing keeping my vibration at a certain level and keeping my energy aligned and protected, because I have attracted a few dust devils that want me to be in my pig pen energy, and I'm just not going there anymore. And so it's like rendering them speechless and giving it to God, or as I say, giving it to the powers that be, taking that energy and saying, I don't resonate with this. I'm going to give this matter over to you. I don't want it in my energy field at all, so therefore I don't need to really do much at all to resolve or to defend or to counteract this negative energy, because the more that I stay in my uplifted, high vibrational energy, you can't even touch me, because that field gets higher. It gets wider in all dimensions, in all axes. So the X, Y, the Z, it's like the staying in that strong 0 point energy. It's like that sickle energy too. It cuts out. It's the feminine sickle. And then we have the lotus, the lily pad, the moon energy, and the meditation or prayer beads. Yeah, I'm just seeing this as bringing out your sacred tools and having gone in many different directions, but now pulling that all back together, bringing it all into one clear understanding of what in the world are you trying to get through to me, world and universe. It's like, where is the lesson? How can I be of service without unduly sacrificing myself, because Christ consciousness has a lot of great symbolism, but I believe nobody needs to put themselves on a cross and get nailed up there daily just to resurrect again and again with that phoenix energy. Don't catch yourself on fire and you don't turn to ash. Who knew? See this? Sacral chakra. So I'll read that card that's coming out on the code card. The orange flower of life supports our ability to flow with our desires and stimulates our creative power to manifest success and abundance in our lives. If you've done the sacred work, if you're aligned, if you're shining, you will attract these dust devils, but there's a firm difference between all of those and the high vibing individuals. And if you're feeling it, give yourself the time and space to go pursue that. I was seeing 4040 and then 4044 there. It's a sacred space. It is the inner temple. Allow yourself to breathe into your desires. And if you do, that initial response of tightening, of excitement, or of anything can be very educative. But butterflies are often, it's a little bit of a stress response. It's a little bit of tension and fear, perhaps. Or it can be a bunch of different things, but feel into it and recognize when you're playing games with your own sense of worth and deservingness, your own sense of will they approve or not, should I or should I not ask or make a move, or should I not go to I just saw tread carefully, to a certain place or time, or is it appropriate or is it not? Throat chakra, all you can do is express from your authenticity. Whoa, what do we have popping out here? We have mature feminine. Somebody's seeing a mature feminine who is strong in her joy. Remember that cat with all the resources? Oh, she is a cool cat. Oh my. You are so hot. Do you even know it? Have you seen yourself lately? Maybe you need to talk to your friends and have yourself a glow up session where they can just love bomb you with all that energy. Stealth, tactics, and games. So recognize when you're playing games with your own self, being your own worst inner saboteur and gaslighter, telling yourself that you got to play it cool, because playing it cool is mixed signals. Don't let yourself play the games that you were taught that you need to play. Be authentic. Be your own freaking awesome self. Gather all of your cojones. Your soul is waiting for you to collect all of that energy and draw it up into yourself and out through that throat chakra. Masculines, do not cockblock yourself. And other individuals, that saboteur is definitely that energy of, oh, don't come near. I got my stuff all going. Don't touch me. I'm prickly. I'll stand over here. I'm going to move away. I'm not going to smile. I'm going to act like a caged being. Capricorn. Capricorn could be the sign of someone you're dealing with. It could also be in your own chart. I'm feeling the mountain goat energy of, take those little baby steps. Keep advancing. Don't rush the defender, if that makes sense. It's like, then they can change their moves, because, like, if you rush a horse, like my horse got out the other day. It was such an exciting story, but it's a long one. But I won't tell it to you. But I had to kind of act like a herding dog, and instead of approaching it, I had to kind of circle him and kind of yip and hip and pop, 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 encourage, and coax, and kind of spook him into the direction I wanted him to go into. Interesting. So, mind game stealth tactics. You can be clever for the highest possible good and strategic without being manipulative. If you don't disguise your tactics and your objectives, then people won't be as spooked. as long as you're not like swooping in like, hey dude, let's get married, I just met you, or something like that, right? Or going into a brand new job and telling everybody your whole life story. Oh, sometimes some of us empaths, we get into that space, or other people get into that space with us and they tell us so many things. And it can be like, ooh, awkward. I'm not feeling this level of engagement and intimacy in my field yet. So, awakening, wake-up call. What is coming to your attention? And the last one, this one I saw right away, 1111, twin flame. So a lot of times that twin flame dynamic is toxic. It brings up every trigger. It aggravates every single chakra that you have, even your Earth Star chakra and your Soul Star chakra, making you feel a sense of longing and nostalgia for a place you've never visited, a feeling of disowned and lack of belonging to the place that you are absolutely entangled and enmeshed with for the highest good. You're here to fertilize the soil with your creative efforts and with the time and the space that you co-create with others, the sharing that you bring, the healing that you provide, and the beauty that you are. So don't waste another minute crying and staying stuck for someone who didn't respect you when all this time you were the cat's ass. So I do believe that will be that for me. I'm wondering if I should close with a Tao message just to let Spirit speak for a minute. Or should I read one of these Kali cards? I think we've said enough on the Kali cards. Sometimes the Tao messages can bring up a lot of symbolism that brings it right down into the natural cycles of the earth, or into the third dimensional governance and institutions that we were speaking about, especially that Capricorn influence there. Can be known as the devil card, a card of bondage and institutional control and materialism and superficiality. So it's like, oh, and did I even read this one? I put it down. It's right under Capricorn, is falling for this mature feminine heart, perhaps, having a wake-up call. Under the deck is 13, and we already talked about the death cycle. 13 is the major arcana for death in the Tarot. So 13, 1 plus 3 is a 4. We're talking again about organization, order, structure, stability, like the four legs of a chair or a table, a firm foundation for the masculine to step off from. And so if this takes a leveling of the previous playing field of what wasn't working for a new beginning to begin, death is not something to be feared. Keep on going. You're on the leading edge. When it feels like the earth is crumbling beneath your feet, that is an invitation to build the earth below you. This image that I have out of this deck is the Chariot card, the backside. She's moving out into the cosmos, and there's stars all around her, but there's no earth. But she's not falling. She's rising, like the charioteer in the Ascension story. Was that Elijah? I don't know it. 13. Success is as dangerous as failure. Their hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms. Phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as a self, what do we have to fear? You're timeless and immortal. See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. The golden rule. How appropriate. So what you see returns to you. 4949. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I so appreciate you guys sticking it out with me that are coming back and checking out the messages. We're getting back aligned with our channel here and bringing you along. And the more that people check in with these vibrational readings, the more you lend your vibration to the readings, and the more your energy is going to come out, and your particular advice will come through those cards in spontaneous and delightful and amazing ways. So stay open to the messages that will follow you all throughout this day, the resonances that will bring you back to that moment of insight, that epiphany for yourself. You are enough, you are divine, you are worth it, and we are doing it all together. So take care, and I will see you back very soon. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, share your love. Take care.